Gamescom happened and we learned a ton about the big upcoming games and got some rumors about them as well, and some baffling things happened that we need to discuss. So a ton of gaming news to go over. Sit back and let's go. Take-Two carried the Gamescom livestream in terms of biggest surprises. They started the show with the Borderlands 4 trailer. We've been discussing the existence of this game for a long time here in the Sunday videos, but still, it's cool to see that it's real. The trailer might tease the homeland of the Iridians, the ancient alien race behind the vaults. We likely see one grab the Psycho Mask at the end as well. And after that we see some weird quick teases, but Randy Pitchford on Twitter already confirmed that Handsome Jack is not going to be the villain, but something far more dangerous and sinister. Let's hope it's better than the influencer streamer twins they had in Borderlands 3. They got a ton to prove in terms of main story. I hope they can deliver. But overall, I'm super excited for this. Especially in terms of moment-to-moment gameplay, Borderlands 3 was a huge step up. Also, the post-launch was really great, with something new to play every month. Either a big free content drop or a season pass expansion. And now they're solely focused on the PS5 Xbox Series, and the game will immediately launch on Steam next to the Epic Game Store. So, good news so far, and yes, it's coming 2025. 2K actually posted on Twitter that all 3 games that were revealed at Gamescom Opening Night Live will be coming in 2025, yes, including Mafia the Old Country. I did not expect them to reveal that game here, but we did get some info. It's namely set in Sicily during the early 1900s and seems to be taking Mafia back to the roots, the early day of the mob, how it was formed. In 2022, we already learned that a new Mafia game was coming, and then it was also rumored that they would ditch the Mafia 3 engine in favor of Unreal Engine. And speaking of Mafia 3, that is the last game that the team at Hangerford Team released, so 8 years ago. They of course did do the pretty awesome Definitive Edition for the first game, but nothing brand new, as a new IP they were working on got cancelled. And I would not be surprised if this is why they're going for a linear narrative approach instead of an ambitious open world, because they can of course get the linear narrative out way faster. Still, it's going back to the roots of the older games. Let me know your take in the comments down below. We will hear and see more about the game in December, likely at the Game Awards. And real quick, Take-Two, who owns 2K, is of course the publisher of GTA 6, which will launch in October, November or December 2025. So I think it's safe to assume that both Borderlands 4 and Mafia will launch before October. Again, there was something very strange at this Gamescom event as well, but first, some other highlights. Dying Light The Beast was announced, a standalone game featuring the main character from the first one, Kyle Crane. Yes, voiced by Roger Craig Smith, and as the name suggests, Kyle can now turn into a beast with brand new powers. It takes place in a new map inspired by the town from Stranger Things and Twin Peaks, co-op up to 4 players. They also brought back vehicles and more guns that were also added to Dying Light 2 post-launch. This started as a Dying Light 2 expansion, but after 2 years of work, its size and scope has changed so much that it evolved into a standalone, self-contained experience. At least, that is what the developers say. Probably the main reason was that if they made this a Dying Light 2 expansion, it would sell way less. Making it standalone makes it interesting for a way bigger audience, myself included. It should be 18 hours and the rumored price is $40, although it's not confirmed. And if you bought the Dying Light 2 Ultimate or Collector's Edition, you get this content for free. They promised a second DLC for that game, but that won't happen anymore. No release date yet. I'm guessing early 2025 or April. We'll keep you posted. Let me know if you would return to Dying Light with this game in the comments down below. Gamescom was full with release dates for upcoming games like Path of Exile 2, the very good looking free-to-play dungeon crawler released in early access on PC and console on November 15th. Wish it was not on the same day as Assassin's Creed Shadows, but I digress. Now Marvel Rivals showed Captain America and Winter Soldier and will launch on December 6th. Starfield got an update with the long-awaited vehicle that is out right now, and the cool horror-style expansion is dropping on September 30th, and I will totally be returning to the game for that. That Dune survival game looked pretty awesome, the amount of things going on, 100-player open world, building, you can fly, there's co-op, combat, special events. I really hope this is all going to work when it launches in early access in 2025 on PC first and console later. either. But looking at this overall just made me wish it was a single player open world game. And as you might know, I love Donut, Life is Strange 1, recently Banisher's Ghost of New Eden. Well, they're launching a new game, Lost Records, Bloom and Rage. It's another choice-based narrative title where we switch between the past and present to uncover a mystery. And I just love the graphical art style, and we now learned that it launches in 2 parts, one on February 18th and the other on March 18th. Of course, let me know your highlights from Gamescom in the comments down below. And again, there's that baffling thing that happened that we need to discuss, and way more gaming news. Of course, if you like these big gaming news roundup videos, then leave a like, that would really help me out. And subscribe, because we post one of these every Sunday.
But there is one more thing that Machine Games and Bethesda wanted to share with you about Indiana Jones and the Great Circle.
So I think this is just crazy on many levels. Like, for one, the fact that another Xbox exclusive is coming to PlayStation, one of the bigger ones, is of course not a great look. Like, I'm all for having games be available for as many people, but I know there were people that went for the Xbox Series over the PlayStation 5 because Microsoft bought Bethesda and those games would become exclusive. But now with Doom coming day 1 and Indiana Jones coming later, while the PS5 still has many amazing games that you cannot play on Xbox, you probably feel cheated. And then to announce it like a big one more thing reveal, it just feels wrong, like an extra middle finger to your hardcore fans. It would have been better if they said Spring 2025 PS5, but if you are on Xbox and PC, you get it December 9th and on Game Pass. Now, Indiana Jones pre-orders were probably super low on Xbox. They need to give Lucasfilm maybe up to 30% on every copy sold, so probably the only way to make a return on investment is to go to PlayStation. But why not like keep it an exclusive this holiday, so people might get an Xbox to play indie, and then after the game has been out for some time, you announce, hey, it's coming in a few weeks to PS5. You would think that that's smarter, because now people that were on the fence might wait for the PlayStation 5 version that probably has a few updates and is in a better state instead. Now, Phil Spencer also talked about this at Gamescom, and what it basically comes down to is that Microsoft, of course, let them purchase Activision Blizzard for $69 billion. So now there's pressure on Xbox to make more of a profit as well, and in the short term, they cannot do that on the platforms they own. So if it wasn't clear already, expect way more Xbox games on PlayStation moving forward. It was already inevitable, but things are maybe even moving faster than anticipated. Sea of Thieves did in particular very well on PS5. Now, Indiana Jones should, by the way, drop in April on PS5 according to The Verge, and they had all the other Xbox release dates right as well, so expect it in April. Now let's do some quick shots, news stories I will go over quickly. We namely got the first look at gameplay for Batman Arkham Shadow, a game set after the events of Arkham Origins. We got to meet Dr. Quinzel and Crane before they became Harley Quinn and Scarecrow. Harvey Dent, Jim Gordon and Ratcatcher will also be in the game, and graphically it looks surprisingly good. A big focus will be on motion-controlled melee combat, of course with the dodges we are familiar with from other VR games. Yes, there's a combo meter as well. We of course have the detective mode as well, and I think the grapple gun could actually be a pretty smart way to move through the environment for VR, as you're not physically moving. Like, that is what usually causes motion sickness if you're sitting down playing a VR game, but in the game you're walking around. Look, I would have loved a regular Arkham game, but this was camouflage going to Meta and Warner being like, hey, we would like to make a Batman VR game, and Meta was like, sure, we will fund this. The VR audience seems to be very happy with it, and I totally get why. It looks very promising. It should be more Arkham Asylum style, by the way, instead of a big open world. There will still be some open levels with different dungeons that you can explore, but nothing too big. 12-hour campaign coming this October. Yes, Sony was completely absent from Gamescom. They sometimes like to drop a trailer, but this year nothing. 2 years ago they, for example, announced the DualSense Edge at the show, which was pretty big. No, it seems like they're saving their announcements probably for something in September, as they've been doing a September show for the last 5 years. Now let's hope it's not a state of play, but a showcase again. What we at least now learned is that they will do a Death Stranding special stage show at Tokyo Game Show for an hour hour on September 29th. This was announced on the Japanese PlayStation blog, where they also talked about the fact that Astrobot will be playable, and if you play, you get one of the 4 shirts. The game will already be out by then, so that's why they're giving away the shirts. Monster Hunter Wilds will also be playable, just like at Gamescom, and this interesting, they say, details about other playable titles and stage events will be announced at a later date. Like, this has to be for things that are not announced yet, right? That they will reveal at their September event. Like, otherwise they would put it in the blog already. I will keep you posted as always on the potential PlayStation 5 Pro event that I think is coming in the next few weeks. Sony has to come out swinging for this one. And I said Monster Hunter Wilds, by the way, we also got a new trailer for that at Gamescom. I still need to be blown away. Like, Worlds was such a huge, like, leap for the franchise, and this feels like just a small step up. But I hope they can still show a trailer where I'm like, oh my god, this game looks insane. I'm still looking forward to it. Like, it should launch in early 2025 to be in Capcom's current financial year, because otherwise they have no big AAA releases for the periods between April 2024 and March 2025. But still, they have not announced the release date yet. So I would not be surprised if it's like the final week of March, like they did for Dragon's Dogma 2 as well. But yeah, some bad news from the people who played it at Gamescom. We learned that they seem to be targeting 30 FPS on console, which would suck. Like, especially after having Monster Hunter Rise at 60 on a console before it. Now, Avowed was also playable, and the developers themselves confirmed that the game will be 30 FPS on console, because you don't necessarily need 60 FPS for a first-person single-player RPG. Well, I disagree. Like, it does make your game way more enjoyable if it has a high frame rate, and we just keep repeating this cycle where the PC versions of these Xbox games are way better at launch, and then half a year later, or maybe even later, they are like, hey, we figured it out, guys. Redfall, Starfield are now 60 FPS on console as well. It's kinda wild how this is not a priority already. I just don't get Microsoft this generation, man. Just like last year with Baldur's Gate 3, they're missing out on one of the biggest games of the year. Black Myth Wukong sold 10 million units in 3 days. Like, the game is probably not on Xbox right now because the developers could not make it work on Series S, which was also the case for Baldur's Gate 3. So now your most dedicated audience who bought the most powerful console at $500 is missing out on this amazing game because Xbox wanted to sell a cheaper, less powerful version. Like, I would not be surprised if we look back at this generation and can, like, conclude that the Series S was a big mistake. Topic maybe for another video, but yeah, you already saw some Avowed gameplay. I kinda lost interest, sadly. Like, I will be playing Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 that launches 1 week before Avowed, and that looks really impressive in the new gameplay they showed at Gamescom. Totally keeping an eye out on this one, and I'm curious to hear your hype level for Avowed and Kingdom Come Deliverance, of course, also in the comments down below. And well, it happened, as we talked about last week, Final Fantasy 16 is coming to PC, and what I also said last week is don't launch it in the same week as God of War Ragnarok, that is launching September 19th on PC. Well, Final Fantasy 16 is launching on September 17th. This is really the episode where it's like weird decision after weird decision. So now 2 of the biggest AAA PS5 releases are coming to PC in the same week. Final Fantasy 16, a game that many overlooked and needs a bigger audience. Like, every other week would have been better than 2 days before God of War Ragnarok, because if people were waiting for both games to come over, I totally think you would still go for God of War first, and while I love Final Fantasy 16, Ragnarok is totally the better game. There is a demo for Final Fantasy 16, by the way, already out. They already had to patch it though for some visual issues. Again, this game deserves a second life on PC, but so far it seems like Square Enix is putting all sorts of roadblocks in the way that should not be there. This coming week, it's Star Wars Outlaws week. Reviews will drop on Monday. We will be streaming the game on Monday as well, and we'll totally do some videos on it. We won't have the review out on the embargo simply because we were too busy with Wukong. Having a blast with that, and the support on the content has been insane. And we also had a huge partnership with them, which is also thanks to you watching our content. So thanks a lot for that, but that does mean that I had to put like Outlaws a bit on the back burner. Joyce has luckily been playing a lot though, so we will totally have some tips and tricks and all the other things, but yeah, a bit later. Crimson Desert also had some Gamescom reveals, of course, and totally expect a video on that. Probably not this coming week, although, yeah, I just wanted to say Crimson Desert looks amazing, and yeah, we will talk about it. Just expect Wukong, Outlaws videos, and a big news roundup like this at the end of the week. So subscribe to not miss it. Thanks as always for your support. A like would be awesome, and check out our previous video by clicking on the screen. I will speak to you very soon. Goodbye.